Hello and happy Wednesday. Today on the Busy Bride podcast, I'm coming to you solo to talk about your reception formalities, and more specifically, the different ways in which you can order them. And because this is my podcast, I'm also going to share with you the order I think works the best for multiple reasons. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the Busy Bride podcast. I'm your host, Gabriella Marie, and I created this podcast to help you research vendors and learn valuable advice as you plan the most special and true to you wedding day of your dreams. Let's get started. Okay, first, how in the whole heck of the entire world is it already October? I feel like September didn't even happen. That's how quickly it flew by. And I feel so old saying that. But there are just so many things that happened, so many good things that happened all in a row. I had so many weddings all together, back to back to back to back with no break. And then I blinked and it was fall. And I was like, oh my gosh, all right, September's over. Cool. All right. Enough of that being sappy for the change of seasons talk. This is going to be a pretty short and sweet episode. And the idea for this actually came from a wedding I photographed not too long ago. Sometimes there are things that happen in the background of weddings, especially receptions, that only us vendors notice, which is, that happens because it's a production and things are happening, things are moving. But at this wedding, the guests and even the couple themselves noticed a distraction during one of the reception formalities. During the parent dances, there were servers walking around and either clearing plates or plating food, and they were walking through the tables to do so, and that meant they were inevitably blocking some guests' view of the parent dance that was happening at the time. And now this is not a dig on the servers at all. They're just doing their job. They're following directions. They're making sure that dinner sticks to the maitre d's schedule so that everybody gets hot food, and that's a really good thing. So not a dig on the servers at all. And also, as a photographer, I do my best to make sure I'm not blocking anybody's view of the dances when I'm photographing them, but sometimes I need to move around to get certain angles of certain parts of the dance, and I'm definitely distracting people when I move around, so I try not to, but I'm also one of the distractions. So got to put that disclaimer in here. But the problem with this wedding that I photographed was that there were so many servers moving around throughout the entirety of the dance that it was nearly impossible not to at least notice them. And again, not their fault at all. But it could have been prevented with a different order of formalities. So, what do I mean when I say reception formalities? I'm talking things like the grand entrance when you're announced as a married couple for the first time, the first dance, the parent dances, the toasts, the cake cutting, things like that. And believe it or not, there's not really a quote unquote standard way to do all these things at your reception, which is great news because no wedding is perfectly alike, and that allows you to customize your day even further. However, if you're planning on having a standard wedding reception with the first dance, the parent dance, the toast, the seated dinner, they're dancing, then there is an order to things that I think typically most weddings works the best in my experience as a wedding photographer. So, here it is. It feels weird saying this because everybody's different. But I do want to share that I think this does work the best. So my personal opinion is that the main formalities should be front loaded at the beginning of your reception. And I have a couple reasons for that statement, and I'm going to walk you through them one by one. So when a reception is front loaded, that means right after you enter the reception as a married couple, you stay in the dance floor and go into your first dance. And it could be a breather, your entrance song is not the same as your first dance song typically, so it's not go, 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 but you enter, you stay in the dance floor, everybody's clapping, and then the DJ or the band will announce all right, time for the first dance, and then you just stay on the dance floor and go into the first dance. So that way, everyone's already paying attention. The energy is high. They still have some of their drink left over from cocktail hour. They don't need to go use the restroom yet. They don't have food on their plate yet. And then suddenly, a couple minutes later, boom, first dance done. Check that formality off the list. Then, going straight into parent dances also works. People can sit down at this point, so they're not like still standing. But this is just, it's less than 10 minutes more of paying attention for the guests. They haven't yet been distracted by food. They haven't really gotten into a deep conversation at their table yet. So everyone's still paying attention. And you also don't yet have the servers walking around and plating the food and getting in the way of some guests watching the parent dances. And also, side note, if these happen before dinner is served instead of during dinner, then the photos have your guests in the background. I guess not every single photo, but a lot of photos of your parent dances have guests in the background. This ensures, or it does its part to ensure, that at least most of your guests are like paying attention and watching the parent dance, which is nice to have in your photos. But also, more importantly, it means that nobody's gonna be taking like a massive bite of food in the background of your parent dance photo, because nobody wants that. I don't want that as a photographer. You don't want that as the couple getting the photos. The person eating the food also does not want that moment captured and, blown up. So that's like a whole side note thing. So this way, it's 10 minutes straight of paying attention for the guests for the first dance. And the parent dances, maybe 15 minutes if you split up all the entrances and do the wedding party like 2 by 2. But then it's 10 to 15 minutes of paying attention. And then it's like, okay, we're going to get our food now. We can start going to the bathroom. We can start talking. And it's like already checked off a bunch of formalities off the list. So once this is over, you as the couple, you are seated. The reception slowly transitions into dinner. And then salads can be plated. So it's kind of like a break for all of that to happen. And it just feels like it flows naturally. Then, once the salads are served, it's time for the toasts. So people are starving, and then they've had like a chance to get some food in them before the toasts start. And then you as the couple have had a moment to yourselves before turning your attention to another huge moment in your wedding day. And I think that doesn't really get talked about a lot when thinking about your wedding day and planning for it. They're like, your wedding day is amazing. Like, you're going to have so much fun on your wedding day, but there are so many incredible moments that just happen back to back to back to back. So it is nice to have some time in between them. So that's the argument for splitting up the formalities, which is the opposite of what I'm saying, to front load them. But I still think there's time in this front loading to have some breaks, some breathers, to be able to kind of internalize everything that's going on. But you may disagree with me, and that's totally okay. But this is just kind of my observational post as a photographer. So yeah, just think about on your wedding day, having things be back to back and making sure you schedule in some time to have some like one-on-one breathing moments with your partner, even if it's just like a couple minutes at a time. Still makes a huge difference. So I have many podcasts of us talking about that, like the breathing room and moments together. But that was a little side note. So back to this. Toasts. Salads are served. Time for toasts. So if the servers are walking around during toasts, like if the salads aren't fully done being plated, they kind of start doing that, or they start plating dinner as the toasts are being served. It's not as big of a deal as if the servers were walking around during the parent dances, because the parent dances are something that you want to watch, and the toasts, while you do want to watch them, you mostly want to hear them. So like if it's okay if like somebody walks in front of you and you like miss a moment because you can still hear what's going on. So it's not as big of a deal for things you plated or picked up during the toasts. So now when the toasts are done, it's time for dinner. The guests are off the hook. Like, they are done paying attention to things. It's ready to eat and dance. Like, that's all they have on their mind now. And then for you as the couple, you're off the hook for major moments. You had your first dance, you had your parent dances, you heard your favorite people toast you, and now you just eat and dance. And, cut the cake, but like it's low pressure and it's fun and it's, I don't know, 2 minutes. So I don't really count that as a huge major moment. But it's still a moment. Whatever. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Having everything done by the time dinner's served, I mean, you can just eat. You don't have to worry about anything else. You don't really have to worry about food getting in your teeth. You can just eat, and then you can just talk to people, and then you can just dance. Very like low stress rest of the day. And like the rest of the day is like good stress, but you know what I mean. Still like something on your mind. So if you don't front load your formalities, so if you don't do what I said to with like first dance, parent dances, toast, then dinner, then it seems to me as a photographer as I'm watching things that people are kind of like getting up and sitting down and getting back up again or having your attention pulled in different directions. So I'm going to give you like a little rundown of what my little brain thinks is going on when I observe receptions that kind of split up formalities. So grand entrances, and then first dance. And then you can sit down, have a breather, start chatting. Okay, wait. Okay, time to pay attention. Father of the bride toast. Oh, so sweet. Love. Okay, sit back down and start chatting and maybe eat some salad. Okay, more toast. Gotta quick make sure there's nothing in my teeth. Stop eating, even though I'm really hungry. Okay, now I'm gonna laugh, and this is amazing. I love these toasts. Okay, cool. Now I can just focus on eating dinner. Okay, wait, now I have to get back up and dance, but I just had a big meal. I'm kind of full. I don't really feel like dancing, but this is my parent dance. I gotta pay attention. Oh my gosh. Okay, now time to cut the cake. Okay, now it's time to dance. Definitely a little more like exaggerated than it feels every day. But that's how my brain interprets what it might be like for the newlyweds who are experiencing all the reception formalities broken up. It's kind of like get up, sit down. Okay, attention here. Okay, attention there. Whereas the front loading formalities are more like it feels like more of a flow. I think that's the gist of this entire podcast episode. It feels like more of a flow when things are front loaded at the beginning. So that's my observation. And also, big disclaimer, I'm not married yet, so I haven't gone through this myself. It's all purely from observation. I'm just sharing this with you so that you are aware of what the different orders of formalities at your reception can look like and how that order can impact your wedding day experience. And I want you to have the best wedding experience ever. That's the whole reason why this podcast exists. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast episode. I hope you took something away positive. And if you're still listening, you're like, nah, I want my formalities split up because of this or that, or I can't handle that much attention to myself all at once. Like I need some breaks in between things, then amazing. Kudos to you for knowing yourself so well. That's like amazing. Very proud of you for that. By all means, do what feels right in your gut. I'm just here to provide some insight for my experience and my years as a photographer and help guide you to the best decision for you. So, I hope you're able to make that decision after this podcast episode. Hopefully, you're able to talk to your partner about what the different orders and experiences might feel like and just kind of what feels like the most fun and the best for you guys. So, thanks for listening. I appreciate your time so very much. Now, go hug your person, and I will see you next Wednesday.